Happy New Year, everyone! We are almost done with 2013. This is the last board game breakfast of 2013, and I'm glad that you are on board. Before I forget, I should say happy birthday to Sven from Belgium. We hope you have a great birthday. And it is the beginning of a new year at the Dice Tower, so there's lots of things to be looking forward to. Now, last week we had a bit of a down week. We got out some content for you, but not as much as normal, and that's mostly because, well, it was the week of Christmas. This week we have something very interesting planned, and it could be a complete bust or it could be something fun. That's up to you guys. This coming Friday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday and going to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, December 4th, we are going to be doing a 24-hour gaming. Now, what that means is we're going to get together, me and Z Garcia and Sam Healy, and we're going to play games for 24 hours straight. Who knows? How that's going to work. We had various members of our gaming group will come and join us, and we're going to be streaming it live here. Now, I've tested it. I've managed to get streaming to work with this camera here so that the quality should be a little bit better, but I can't tell you what's going to happen. I think watching people play games, I like doing it, but I think for most people it's a boring process, so I will not be offended in the least if this is something you're not interested in. And we may, when you're watching it, it may be if you click on it and the link doesn't work, possibly that's because I stopped it and started another one. I don't know if YouTube will even allow us to do a 24-hour video straight, so I probably wouldn't even try that. Maybe I'll do it every 3 hours and then start another feed. So who knows? It will be an interesting thing to see, and it's an experiment, and it's the holidays, so Sam and Z, both of them are teachers. They have the chance to do this, and we'll see if I can even stay awake for 24 hours. Whew. All right, anyway, on to the news. As I said last week, there's really not a lot of news going on right now, but there's a few things. Gale Force 9 did a video where they talked about things that they did in 2013 and what's coming up in 2014, and most of that's miniatures, but they did talk about their game Firefly and their upcoming expansion, Pirates and Bounty Hunters, something they said is really going to add a lot of player interaction to the game. And they also talked about their upcoming game, Sons of Anarchy, based on the TV show where everyone is a jerk and shoots each other, or about a motorcycle gang. On Kickstarter, I wanted to mention is one thing about Kickstarter. They have this new interesting thing called a merged D6, an MD6, where basically it's a 36-sided die that has all the different combinations on it. So it would have 1 12 and 2 11s and 3 10s, etc. And so, I thought, well, that's interesting, but a 36-sided die, as much as, I want one of these, obviously, to add to my collection, it just doesn't seem useful. But they had 4 reasons. They said, 1, it prevents cheating, because they said 6-sided dice, you can throw them so they land on a certain side, so it's much harder to do it with this die. They also said that you use less dice. Instead of using 4 D6, you can use 2 MD6s. And they said that it makes math easy, where instead of adding the numbers together, the die does it for you, and they said it rolls better than 6-sided dice. Well, I might agree on the rolling better part, because but if you get 2 6-sided dice and you use a dice tower, then the dice roll fine. The math thing, come on, really? In fact, I think you should use 2 6-sided dice to add them. And they said if you're using 8 dice, you have to add them all together. Well, if you're using 4 MD6, that's the same thing. Less dice. All right, a handful of these as opposed to a pile of 6-sided dice. I don't see that there's a huge difference there. And cheating, well, if you're playing with cheaters, getting new dice isn't the solution. It's getting new people to play against. Anyway, I think it's a cool idea. I thought those were funny reasons. Also, Fantasy Flight has announced that Descent Shadows of Nerekhal is coming out. There's going to be another set of quests, 19 more quests added to the game, and they also have 4 more lieutenants. This is an interesting thing. I think it's neat that they have all these lieutenants, and I'll be doing a review on some of them soon. It just seems that since you can only really use 1 lieutenant per game or per campaign, it seems odd that there's 12, 15 of these lieutenants so far. That seems like a lot. We see another Star Wars, the card game. They're still working in the expanded universe. This next expansion has Sanderson, who was one of the bad guys from Jedi Knight. And then another game that's coming out in a couple months, Myth. This was a game that got a lot of talk. I believe there's a Kickstarter for it. I saw that Gen Con briefly had these little miniatures, and it's a co-op fantasy game. There's no bad guy, there's no dungeon master, everyone's working together, and the miniatures look cool, and they're selling kind of like a miniatures game. You buy the game, and then there's expansion packs to add stuff to the game. So we'll see how that works. Now, before I get to Nick with the Kickstarter news, I'm actually going to do Peter Krause first here, because Peter talks about the same thing Nick does. They both talk about the same thing, so let's get to that.
Heroquest is once again in the news as GameZone is trying yet again to launch their project on a Spanish crowdfunding website called Lanzanos. So it's time to see how passionate you really are when it comes to the classic Milton Bradley game, Heroquest. We'll start with an easy one. What year did this great game come out? A. 1968, B. 1977, C. 1989, D. 1994, or E. 1051 BC? And the answer is C. 1989, which was the same year Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade hit theaters. One of the game's designers was Stephen Baker, and Steve brought a great vision to Milton Bradley of a fantasy game that would appeal to more of a mass market audience. What company did Steve come from prior to working with Milton Bradley? A. Games Workshop, B. Sesame Street Workshop, C. TSR, D. TRS-80, or E. Avalon Hill? And the answer is A. Games Workshop. Milton Bradley also hired Games Workshop to help with the sculpts of the minis, design of the furniture, and help write the storyline. Final question. In Heroquest, one player takes the role as the Game Master. What evil character does the Game Master play? A. Edith Bunker, B. Zool, C. Zorgon, D. Zargon, or E. Mr. Smithers? And the answer is D. Zargon. I love those names. You kick some board game butt if you got all these right. If not, maybe you learned something about this classic. Sorry you can't pick it up easily though, as it's out of print.
Alright, I want to talk about this too. We're going to talk a lot about Heroquest in this episode. But Heroquest, Nick asked what people think about the whole thing, so I wanted to weigh in a little bit on this myself. Heroquest was a game that really had a great impact on me when I was a teenager. It was a big game. And by the way, I got all three of those questions correct. But here's the deal. First of all, this. I must always caution people to be very careful, even I have to be careful, about giving an opinion on these things, because oftentimes we don't know the whole story. Sometimes people get all on a bandwagon and they crucify a company or a designer or somebody for something that's a perceived fault, or only one person makes the noise. One time, years ago, a designer publicly blasted a company, and that company had done nothing wrong. It was actually the designer's fault, but the company really got raked over the coals because people lined up behind the designer because they liked the designer. So here, we don't know the whole story, but we can only go by what is out there. And we are consumers. You guys are consumers, and I'm a consumer of this. And I don't know if it's legal for Heroquest to be reprinted in Spain or not. I don't really care if it's legal. My question is it right? Because they're calling it Heroquest. They're not saying this is a game based on Heroquest. Because if they were, people still might yell and bluster, but I don't think it would be that big of a deal. They're making a game similar to Heroquest. Yay, you're working with those mechanisms. But they're saying this is Heroquest, the 25th anniversary edition. So either they're stealing the name and putting it on a different game, or they're taking the game outright. Now, I think Mr. Baker is a fantastic designer, and I'll tell you this: designers today do not get enough credit as it is for their games, and it kind of bothers me that they're not giving him credit here either. And I think that's a very important thing to do. And I don't know whether it's legal or not, but the question is it right? So the question becomes, again, like I said, is it right or not? And I think it's up to us consumers to decide on that matter. But what bothers me most in this situation is not so much this company, and they certainly look shady, but it's the consumers involved. See, this game was canceled not once, but twice. It was rejected by 2 different platforms. Now it's on a 3rd platform. And that should be raising red flags. See, I think Kickstarter is a great thing. We kickstart the Dice Tower seasons. I kickstarted my own game. I've seen many great games come out from Kickstarter. I think it's a great platform, as is crowdfunding in general. But you, as a consumer, have to be wary. And I know that there's some projects out there that have been some pretty spectacular failures over the last year. And some of them, there was one at least that had no red flags, but there were some that had some pretty major red flags on it. And yet people just seem to ignore that. And how can that be, I wonder? Well, I think there's 2 reasons. One is a lack of knowledge. And you know what? I don't have a lot of respect for that either. Because I think if you're going to get a game, you should look into the game. Don't just be, oh wow, advertisement. What do you do if you're interested in something? You read reviews, you look at what people say. And if you do any search on the internet for Heroquest 25th anniversary, you're going to find that this controversy about it exists. So I don't really accept the knowledge one. But I do accept the second one. I think happens a lot, and that's gamer greed, where someone wants a game so badly that they will justify whatever to get it. Does the designer not get a cut? I don't really care. People will say things like, oh, well, they're going from Hasbro, and we hate Hasbro. Hasbro's an evil, wicked company. I don't care if Hasbro is out there, doing horrific things with their business profits. It doesn't make it right to take from them. Well, this is not a Robin Hood type situation. So, again, I'm being very cautious that I do not know that what is being done here is wrong. It seems wrong, though. And I think because it seems wrong, why are we funding this thing? It's over 100,000 euros. So many people have done this. That boggles my mind. And I hope it doesn't backfire on those people. But if it does, what can we say? But you had an ample warning. Yeah, I want Heroquest to be reprinted. I'd get a copy. I was really excited when I heard about it. But I won't fund it now because of the red. I was about to fund it when I found out that there was all these warning flags and there was a copyright claim being made against them. And so I could do some legal gymnastics and in my mind make it okay, but I don't know that I could get over those red flags. So I'm just saying be cautious. This segment was called Upcoming Games. And here I spent time talking about Heroquest. Well, actually I only have one game that's supposed to be released this week during the first week of the year. And again, don't hold me to this, but it should come out this week, and that's Warhammer Disc Wars, coming from Fantasy Flight Games. Moving on.
Häagen-Dazs. Häagen-Dazs. Let's play Häagen-Dazs. The Stellars of Cardamom. The Stellars of Cardamom. Let's play The Stellars of Cardamom.
Alright, let's take a look now at some new releases that came out this week at Cool Stuff Inc. Some extra dice for Ogre. If you were like me, you open up the Ogre box and you're like, ooh, spots for dice. And then you only had a couple dice. You can get more. Bling the game out even more. I want the deluxe version. Another set of cards for Pathfinder Adventure game. Carnival Zombie came out and then instantly sold out. So that was just a teaser there. But keep an eye. If it comes out again, you want to get a copy. It's a really good game. Tosh Kalar from Z-Man Games. Also Glass Road and Carcassonne South Seas and Russian Railroads. All from Z-Man Games. People are always eager to get Z-Man Games. They sell it quickly, so you might want to check that out. Dungeon Pets Dark Alleys and Brawling Barons, which is a small card game. I reviewed it last year, maybe 2 years ago. I wasn't a big fan of it, but some people may enjoy that. So that's what's come out. And now, let's go to Scott. Hi there, everyone. This is Scott Nicholson.
Associate Professor at Syracuse University School of Information Studies, and I welcome you to the Ivory Dice Tower, where we're taking a look at the role of games in the Academy. And this week I'm going to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is play. Now, why talk about play? Well, play is actually at the center of games. If you think about Kevin Maroney defined games as a form of play with goals and structure. And the idea is that at the heart of a game is a play activity. And when I teach people how to make games, the first thing I try to get them to think about is, what is the play? What is that fun thing, that playful thing that you're going to engage with? Now, what is play? Well, play, there's a lot of definitions of it, and it's something that's key to how we learn and how we grow and how we survive. And so some things that are really important about play. And the first thing that's important is play is something we choose to engage in. Play is an optional activity. If it's not optional, it's no longer play, which is why I have some real problems with this idea of using games for assessing things in schools. Because if you are not letting people choose to do it, well, then you no longer have a game, you have something else. So play is optional. What else is play? Play is exploration. Play is giving you some space in which to explore. You can play in the world around you, but you've got a space that you're exploring. Now, how do you know what that space is? Well, that's another important part of the concept of play, and that is boundaries. So the idea of play is this: it's freedom to explore a boundaried space. And as a game designer, you're creating those boundaries. You're creating the space in which you're going to invite people to come in and explore. And it's through that exploration where the play happens. Now, you couldn't just make a game that says do anything. You know, you could put out a board and a pawn and say do anything. Well, that's not going to help. You need to create boundaries, and we create those boundaries through rules. And we create that space of play with rules. And you can actually have play and rules with no goal. That's not yet a game. And so the goals are a key part of what helps to create a game, is play and rules and goals. Now, sometimes I have to ask myself, am I actually enjoying this play thing? If it wasn't for this scoring system, would I enjoy the activity that I'm doing? Am I playing? Am I enjoying this? And that's, I think, a key part of how someone finds if something is fun. There's no way to make a game fun for everyone. Because in order to make a game fun, it has to match up with the form of play that person wants to explore. And if that form of play the game allows is not what a person wants to explore, that person won't find the game fun. So if you're trying to make a game, recognize it's not going to be fun for everyone. It's going to be fun for a specific group of people. And that's what you want to think about. So this idea of play, this freedom to explore space, it's something that the game designer can control, or the game designer can give over some of that control to the players. This is what I did in Going, Going, Gone. But I'll talk more about that next week. Take care, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
One Hit Wonders is a series of segments I'm doing on the show where I'm going to talk about games that were in my top 100 for only 1 year and then fell out for whatever reason. Now, with all these, as again, I talk about this, and these games almost never fall out because I think they are a bad game. So today we're going to take a look at Dungeon Run. Now, Dungeon Run is a game from Plaid Hat Games, one of my favorite companies. I love Summoner Wars. I love Summoner Wars. Mice and Mystics is a fantastic game. I don't believe a single Plaid Hat game has come out yet that I did not like. Now, Dungeon Run was the first big board game that they did. They've done several since then. I think the last one they did is BioShock, and they're doing a couple this in 2014, which are just phenomenally exciting, Seafall and other things. But Dungeon Run came out, and it was a really cool idea because it was like a prequel to Summoner Wars. In Summoner Wars, each player has a summoning stone, and then they use it to summon. They become a summoner, and they summon units, and they fight each other. In this one, you want to become the summoner, so you work together in a team. You're like a team of adventurers going into a dungeon, and you're finding monsters. And there's this really cool combat system. You can go watch my review to see how it works, but it's a really neat combat system. And you fight the monsters, and you can split up, stay together. You can even hurt each other a little bit, but you're mostly working together until one person finds the summoning stone. At that point, it's a free-for-all. Everyone is after that person with the summoning stone. And if you finally manage to beat them down and take it for yourself, then ha ha ha, I got the summoning stone, etc. It's a really fun game, has cool miniatures, and I enjoyed it very much, and it was pretty high on my list for that year. It was very close to Cutthroat Caverns, a very similar game. Now, it is still in my top 200 games, so it hasn't fallen far. But what happened was, when I do my top 100, I look at games and say, how much do I enjoy playing them? And I found that every time I was really anxious to play Dungeon Run, I usually ended up playing Cutthroat Caverns instead. This is a case where two games were very similar. Now, Cutthroat Caverns is a little more convoluted. It's not as clean as Dungeon Run, really. I think Dungeon Run, if I was going to teach new players how to play one, Dungeon Run would be the one I would teach first. Dungeon Run can run into problems, though. There's ways to game the system. Cutthroat Caverns is more of an elaborate take-that game, and you can try to be good, but if everyone starts wailing on you, your life is not going to go so well. Cutthroat Caverns, by the way, is a similar game where you go into a dungeon and you're trying to get the most experience points, and if someone else dies in a way, oh well, and it's from Smirk and Dagger. So that's really where it's at. If they had released more expansions for Dungeon Run, then I think it would have maybe stayed in my top 100. More expansions would have added more monsters and more variation. Cutthroat Caverns has this huge amount of variation, and so I think that variation is what won the day for me in it. Now again, please do not take this as an indictment of Dungeon Run at all. I think Dungeon Run is a great game. I stand by my original review. I really enjoy it, and I love playing it. I'm just explaining why it fell out of my top 100. I would say, just guessing, it'd probably be 130 at this point in time, which is still a pretty high number because it is an excellent game. So that's my one-hit wonder.
Hi, my name is Sean, and on this segment of Inside Out, we're going to take a look at the components for Undermining, and I promise no component drops. So let's take a look at Undermining, set up for a 4-player game. Graphic design and iconography is very simple and very clean. Take a closer look at the board for Undermining. Now, this is a double-sided board. Let's take a look at the other side, the kind of more blue side. As you can see, there are definitely more of these wormholes for fast travel around on the board. There's a few more of these areas of impassable terrain. The board itself is of good quality. It's a fairly standard board. Good thickness, nothing that I've come across that I'd have any sort of problems with. The board has the locations marked out for most of the components of the game. Here you have the alien technology cards, contracts that you try and complete for victory points. Those victory points for completing contracts in descending order of value. Here we have the upgrades for your universal mining vehicle. The rest of the board is built as a grid pattern, and this is where all the resources get randomly distributed on the board. And the last thing we need to do is put our universal mining vehicles out on the board for each player color. And then the energy cubes can go on the board or on the side. And here are the just the UMV player boards. You can see these are good, thick cardboard in various colors. Chits for the resources, pretty good quality. The upgrade components, also a good thick cardboard. Here's a close look at the UMVs themselves. They're nicely detailed, interesting looking. And here we have the Starbucks, again, nice thick cardboard. Here we have the alien technology cards with their corresponding tokens. It's an adequate card stock. It's not the best. None of these cards are cards that are ever shuffled really or in your hand very often. Undermining is rated for ages 8 and up. Approximately 45 minutes. Produced by Z-Man Games, designed by Matt Tolman, graphic design by Gavin Brown. Undermining is a family strategy game for 2 to 5 players.
Now you'll notice here, I have several shelves, and this shelf here is games. This is games that come in and games that go out. Very few of these games get added to my collection because I only have so much room. But this, all the way down, are games that I still need to play or take a closer look at, and so you'll see them here. This, all the way up, are games that have been played, and it's time to review them, although they may still need to be played again, and I know Terra Mystica is driving some of you crazy that it is still there. But the fact is, look how huge this section is. These are the reviews. Some of these are going to be coming this week. In fact, there's another whole stack that I just got tired of stacking here that I have over there that also needs to be reviewed. So I have, I think, 40 games that I could review right now. I'm not promising 40 reviews this week, but we will get several of them out for you to see. So there's that coming. And you might see some other stuff of the other reviewers. A few more top 10 lists might be coming soon. So there's a lot of things to look forward to. Also, the Dice Tower Network, our network of podcasts. Go there, check out the different podcasts you can subscribe to an all RSS feed where you get all the podcasts that come through on subscriptions. There's really a lot to get involved with in the Dice Tower. A ton of content coming out each week, so check it out.
Oh, hey there, Internet. I didn't see you come in. I'm just taking a mid-holiday break to relax by the fire, enjoy a glass of eggnog, have a little me time. sitting here, thinking about the games I gave away, the games I received. Games. Let's face it, we don't always get the games we want. But hey, at least we got some games. The weather around here has been kind of frightful of late. A lot of snow. A few acres of snow, in fact. Huh. Well, that's a game. That's a game about the War of 1812. When you think about it like that, I guess some snow's not too bad, all things considered. They don't usually get a lot of snow in Spain, but they sure do get a lot of Alhambra. This year, oddly enough, there is snow in Cairo. So all your little plastic camels from through the desert, well, they're feeling kind of chilly right now. Maybe they're having a snowball fight. Wouldn't that be fun? The farmers' fields are all covered up with snow, so your little Agricola farmers, they've got nothing to do but increase the size of their families. Some farmers, they grow beans. You know what else has beans? Bonanza. Yeah, that's a game. Sure is. Well, I think it might be time for bed now. The fire's dying down, the eggnog's all gone. So, here's me, and everyone at Snakes and Lattes, wishing everyone out there a happy, safe, and game-filled New Year.
Hey folks, today I'm not going to talk, last week I talked about some good things, I talked about people, and this week I want to talk about 2014. Now I'm going to mention this in our next Board Gaming Breakfast a little bit more, but I want to take a little bit of time to talk about it today, not much. But you'll notice that on the Dice Tower we put out a ton of content over the course of the year. I think 2013 we put out a lot. Now, we're able to put out that much content because of you guys. We don't charge for our videos. We don't charge for our podcasts, any of the podcasts that we do. We have advertisement on the videos, but because of our Kickstarter last year, we took advertising off the audio podcast, and we took, and so, you know, and we also were able to give out cool rewards. Well, that Kickstarter is going to start again very soon in the month of January. I'd like to give you an exact date. I'm hoping it starts January 1st. It depends if Kickstarter approves it fast enough. I will start it then. And so I'm asking you to consider supporting the Dice Tower this year. We got some cool rewards, custom dice, promo cards, some pretty neat promo stuff actually. But I would like you to consider going in there and looking at the level, and then the level that you support at, to support it at that level, and maybe throw in some extra money, because when you do support the show and we send you the stuff that we send you and the postage and all that comes out of the cost of the Dice Tower. Now, I know, and you know, we all hate to hear people ask for money. I don't really like asking for money. It's not something that I enjoy doing. The Dice Tower is my job, though, at this point in time, and the Kickstarter in 2013 made that possible. I would like to continue doing it in 2014. So I'm asking you, when this Kickstarter launches, and it should launch this week, to take a look at that and consider that, to spread the word, to tell other people about it, because some of the stretch goals we have, I think, are very exciting, and I have some really cool plans of things that we can do with the Dice Tower this year. Now, you may be watching and you say, I can't afford to give to the Dice Tower, and I understand that. We don't have any exclusionary. This is for a set of videos that only people who've donated can watch. Our content, as far as I can hopefully have control over it, will always be free. Now, you may hear more ads on the show, on the audio show, if the Kickstarter doesn't succeed. But one of the things I'm trying to do this year is, for me, Ryan Metzler and Dan King will still be doing previews, but I'd like to step out of the previews because it takes up a good chunk of my time that I need to be putting towards reviewing, editing, and working on other Dice Tower stuff. But that was a source of income, and so hopefully this Kickstarter will help there. That's it. I don't want to keep going on about it. You can check out the Kickstarter. There'll be more information on that. I will certainly shoot up a quick video on this channel to let you guys know that the Kickstarter has started, and you can also watch the front page of the Dice Tower. But no matter what, I appreciate it. I appreciate all your input. If you guys ever have ideas of things you'd like to see, I can't promise that we'll do them, but we certainly like to hear from you. Whew, that's it. Well, we have a lot of work to get to. I get to shoot off a lot of fireworks this week. It's still nice and warm here in Florida. I'm sweating in this suit right now. I know. Y'all are feeling sorry for me out there in the ice. But it is a new year. I'm excited about it. I have a baby boy coming in February. I will be moving to a new location, hopefully also in February. And we have some really cool stuff that you will be seeing from the Dice Tower, and possibly that live show coming this Friday/Saturday. Anyway, until my next video, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Dice Tower.
To find out more about all of our podcasts, check out dicetowernetwork.com. To see a listing of our videos, head to dicetower.com. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Cool Stuff Incorporated, where you can buy games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock.